It's no secret that young Sheldon has always walked a fine line between prequel and reinvention. While it expands the world of Sheldon Cooper's childhood in ways The Big Bang Theory never imagined, it's also bound, sometimes tightly, by the continuity of the flagship show. Nowhere is this tension more evident than in the ongoing subplot involving Georgie Cooper and Mandy McAllister. As young Sheldon explores the couple's budding family life, fans are beginning to wonder if The Big Bang Theory has already spoiled the ending of their first marriage before it even fully begins. Setting the stage, young love in East Texas Georgie, the eldest Cooper sibling, was never portrayed as the most academically inclined or emotionally mature character. But in young Sheldon, viewers have watched him grow from a one-dimensional teenager into a responsible father and partner. His relationship with Mandy has been a highlight of the later seasons, a complicated but heartwarming journey that includes an unplanned pregnancy, moments of emotional growth, and, most recently, talks of marriage. The upcoming wedding of Georgie and Mandy seems like a natural progression. Mandy, once wary of Georgie's immaturity, has warmed to his genuine efforts to be a good partner and father. Their relationship, though unconventional, feels grounded in mutual affection and evolving trust. It's a story of two people trying to build a life together despite their youth and differences. But for fans who remember The Big Bang Theory, there's a looming cloud over this seemingly happy development. The shadow of TBBT continuity in The Big Bang Theory. Georgie is briefly mentioned in a handful of episodes and only appears in person during the show's final seasons. When he does, it's as the successful owner of a tire chain in Texas, with little mention of a family or ex-wife. In one key episode, The Sibling Realignment, Season 11, Episode 23, Georgie visits Sheldon and makes a few cryptic comments about the past, including his frustration with how much responsibility he had to take on after their father's death. He refers to his sacrifices and resentment, but there is no indication of Mandy, no mention of a daughter, and no visible signs of a still thriving or even previously thriving marriage. If anything, his portrayal suggests that Georgie is either single or estranged from a former partner, given the absence of any personal references beyond work and family tension. Reading between the lines, this omission doesn't necessarily confirm a divorce, but in television, especially one as carefully scripted as The Big Bang Theory, absence can speak volumes. The lack of any mention of Mandy or their child could be an intentional gap, allowing young Sheldon some creative breathing room. But as the spin-off approaches the timeline that overlaps with George Sr.'s death, a pivotal moment in both shows, fans can't help but wonder if this narrative crossroads also marks a turning point for Georgie and Mandy's relationship. Could their first marriage end in divorce? It's plausible, if bittersweet. Mandy is older, more experienced, and clearly driven. Georgie, while earnest, is still growing into the man he will become. A marriage born out of necessity, or perhaps affection mixed with pressure, might not be sustainable in the long term, especially after the traumatic loss of George Sr. It's entirely possible that young Sheldon will portray a loving, but ultimately short-lived marriage, one that ends not in animosity, but in mutual understanding. That kind of emotional nuance would fit the show's increasingly mature tone, especially as it shifts from comedy toward coming-of-age drama. A different kind of spoiler in a way, The Big Bang Theory didn't just hint at the end of Georgie and Mandy's marriage, it may have made it necessary. The prequel, though emotionally richer and more grounded, still has to leave the Cooper family in a state that matches Sheldon's memories and the canon of the original show. This raises interesting questions about the reliability of Sheldon's perspective and the creative freedoms of the young Sheldon writers. If Sheldon didn't mention Mandy or his niece in The Big Bang Theory, is it because they were no longer in the picture? Or did he simply choose not to share those details? Sheldon is not the most emotionally attuned narrator, and his omissions might reflect personal bias rather than historical fact. Still, from a structural standpoint, The Big Bang Theory set a precedent. Georgie is successful, somewhat bitter, and largely single in the prime of his life. That image doesn't easily square with a stable, long-term marriage and active parenting. Unless young Sheldon plans to completely retcon elements of its source material, which it has done on smaller scales before, the writing seems to be on the wall. The power of tragedy. There's another possibility. George Sr.'s death could be the catalyst that changes everything. As young Sheldon gets closer to that inevitable moment, the tone of the show is shifting. A young couple navigating new parenthood is already a delicate balance. Add the emotional weight of family grief, financial pressure, and personal growth, and the cracks might begin to show. A tragedy could make or break a couple like Georgie and Mandy. It's easy to imagine them trying to hold it together, but ultimately deciding that their paths are diverging. In that case, their first marriage wouldn't be a failure, it would be a stepping stone, one that shapes both of them into the people they become in the future. Leaving room for redemption. Even if Georgie and Mandy's marriage ends, it doesn't have to be the end of their story. Young Sheldon has consistently embraced complexity, showing that life rarely follows a straight line. Perhaps they divorce, grow apart, and later reconnect. Or perhaps they remain co-parents, their bond changing but never fully breaking. That, too, would reflect the messy reality of adulthood, a theme that both Young Sheldon and The Big Bang Theory have explored in different ways. What's clear is that The Big Bang Theory has created a puzzle that Young Sheldon must solve. The pieces are all there. A marriage that feels too good to last, a tragedy looming on the horizon, and a future already sketched in by an older Sheldon Cooper. Whether the show will lean into the heartbreak or subvert expectations remains to be seen. But one thing's certain, fans will be watching closely, hoping that whatever fate awaits Georgie and Mandy, it honors the heart and honesty that has made their story worth telling. Let me know if you'd like this adapted for a specific website or expanded into a video script.